my name is Davon Adams. I'm a 2L at Tulane Law, and I am the law student liaison for the ABA's Forum on Affordable Housing and Community Development. I'd like to warmly welcome you all to the inaugural episode of this forum's podcast, where we explore critical issues shaping the future of affordable housing and community development here in America. In this episode, we're honored to host a distinguished panel of pioneers: Jill Goldstein, a partner at Kudarak in Omaha and the current chair of the forum's governing committee, with extensive experience in affordable housing finance; Dawn Holliday, a longtime HUD representative and current director of the forum, bringing decades of insight from her work in housing policy; and Courtney Thomas, a first-year law student at Rutgers University and a rising star in public policy advocacy. Please join us as we delve into an engaging conversation surrounding the challenges and opportunities in affordable housing today. Now, as a quick plug, I'd like to raise awareness to the forum's boot camp happening September 26th through 27th at the Oakland Marriott Center in Oakland, California. This annual boot camp is designed to provide in-depth introductory LIHTC, HUD, and CED workshops for newer lawyers with an experienced faculty of practitioners focusing on current issues facing the affordable housing and community development industry. Details about the forum's boot camp, as well as membership and other opportunities through the forum, will be listed in the description of this podcast. Without further ado, let's get into the discussion. So, a bit of introduction. I'd like to talk about each of you's career paths and inspirations. So I'll start with you, Dawn. What inspired you to pursue your current specialization?
Well, just a point of clarification, I am not a HUD specialist. I am the director of the Forum on Affordable Housing and Community Development Law. And I love this practice area. I've been at the Bar Association for 26 years. And one of the reasons that I love this particular practice area is the passion of the individuals that practice this law. A lot of times you see lawyers that are interested in notoriety, fame, fortune, and the individuals that are interested in this specific subset of law are interested in helping people and expanding the community and being good. To me, these lawyers, they model the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So they spread good cheer by helping everyone try and have affordable housing and community economic development. And with them doing that, it helps them give back to the community in so many different ways, because housing, regardless if you have a home, you're homeless, or you live in an apartment, housing touches every person every day in every way. So whether you live on the street, you're affected by housing. Whether you live in a co-op, a dorm, whether you are living with your parents in their basement, whether you own a mini mansion or a mansion, housing affects you. Therefore, the laws that govern housing affect you every day in everything that you do. And the individuals that practice this particular subset of law are very passionate about it, and they provide a great service to the greater community and to the world at large, because again, housing is a necessity for all, whether we are homeless or whether we have our own residence. It's something that all of us are impacted by daily.
Thank you for that, Dawn. I'd like to hold on to that sentiment of do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. Very inspiring. Jill, how about you?
Right. So, I would love to say that this was an area that I knew about in law school and that I endeavored to go into, but that was not the case. This was not, tax credit law is not an area that it may be now, but when I went to law school, it really wasn't taught. And so I just knew that I wanted to work at the law firm where I work at now, which is Q-Tech Rock in Omaha, Nebraska, where I'm from. And when I started here, I started out in mortgage-backed securitization. And that was an area that was very intellectually interesting, but it didn't really not anything good for the broader, society in our communities. That area started to slow down in the early 2000s, and our affordable housing group was very, very busy. And so I asked to switch over to that group, and I just found that I absolutely loved it. It suited my value, my goals and values so well. My dad, in fact, was a public defender here in Omaha, and he was an advocate really for uh, people who were powerless and needed representation. And so, by doing this, I do feel like it's something I feel good about. We're doing something good at the end of a deal. I feel like I'm carrying on my dad's legacy. And just and in addition to that, it also continues to be a very intellectually challenging practice. The deals are complex, they're interesting, there's something new every day. There's never a dull moment. But at the same time, at the end of the deal, you feel like, you feel good about what you've done. And so that's what led me to pursue and also remain in this practice for 22 years.
Blessings, Jill. You kind of touched on a topic that we'll explore later, and that's mentorship. I actually combined that into one question for you, Courtney, if you don't mind. What kind of drew you to your current specialization? Now, I know you're a first-year law student, just getting that journey started. Congratulations, by the way. But I know that you've been a long time advocate for public policy and social justice. As Jill mentioned, her father being a mentor, I'm curious, did you have any mentors that helped shape your praxis, excuse me?
Yes, definitely. I think for me, community economic development was something that I really became exposed to when I moved to Memphis. After graduating from college and getting a master's degree, I knew I wanted to work in public policy, but I didn't know what it would look like. And I was very fortunate to get an opportunity to complete a fellowship doing research on transportation issues in Memphis, Tennessee. And from there, I really just met so many different advocates, some lawyers, some not, community organizers who were so committed and passionate to making change in their community. And I began to see that there was just so much that could be done, from building affordable housing to developing transit and walkable streets. And I just met so many different people who cared so much. And I think that just really, to me, exposed me to how I could use this as a tool to really create change, especially right there on the local level, where people need it most, just right there in their backyards. So I was just really fortunate to be exposed to that, and then continue to find that work interesting. And that brought me to law school. And so I'm excited to be here.
Thank you, Courtney. I don't want to poke, but do you know what you want to specialize in yet? Any idea what type of what industry in the law?
I'm definitely keeping all my options open, but I'm very interested in affordable housing, environmental justice issues, and tax issues.
Okay, blessings. Well, we hope to see you at more forum events. Uh, Dawn, I'll circle back to you on the topic of mentorship. Has anyone helped you shape your praxis?
Well, I mean, I'm as a staff director at the ABA and being at a member of the Forum on Affordable Housing. I'd say two people within my within this framework. I'd say working as a conference director within the American Bar Association. I would say that a previous boss I had really put me on the path of the work that I do and working with conferences and working with lawyers and really just putting my all into it and giving everything I have to it. I don't believe in doing it halfway. I believe in doing it all the way. And one of the things I think that helps a lot is I don't take I make light of a lot of things. I don't take things too seriously, and I don't get um, overly stressed, because I remember one of the things that she told me in this work, it's not brain surgery. Something will go wrong. It can go wrong. You just need to adapt and move with it. And one of the individuals who really impacted my life or my work in this particular form is one of our former chairs, who we will hopefully see at the boot camp next week, Roger Clay. I first came into this forum and I took over from another person, and Roger was the first full chair that I worked for. and Roger was the incoming chair. And he told me a little bit about his life and his work and what his mission is and what his expectations were. And he said, what his expectations are is that I want you to always remember that you're representing us in whatever you do. And when you're doing that, we know that you will do it well. And I said, well, give me an example. He said, what the person who did before wasn't good. And we didn't like that. So we've got you, and we know you're going to represent us well. And from that moment on, I've been just trying to do my very best with all of the forum, the chairs. I think I've had a great relationship. I now have the pleasure of working with Ms. Jill Goldstein as the current chair of the Forum on Affordable Housing and Community Development Law. And it's just been amazing just to see all of them grow and develop. As they started up, some of them, just like you, Devon, a law student liaison, and some of them have matriculated up that they've been chairs of the forum. And it's just a testament to their commitment to this practice. It's such a rewarding life that is given to the individuals, because you see your handiwork or your hard work rather, when you're driving down a street and you see a project that you've worked on or development that you've had a hand in, even if you're doing it as an associate and you're just doing case review or you're doing checking documents or something like that, just to see the something that you've worked on, you see it to fruition, it just makes you feel really, really good. And that's why I really enjoy what the Affordable Housing and Community Development lawyers do and this forum, because they give back in so many different ways. And it's just a good feeling to work with them and see them want to learn and want to share. One of the things I can say about them is that they are not selfish people. They believe in sharing what they've learned. They believe in sharing the knowledge. And I find that there is no, and it could be, and I just don't see it, they're very collegial. They're very collegial. I've seen a couple, but for the most part, I have not seen a competitive nature within this group. I see a very collegial nature, and that's very, very rewarding, especially in the corporate America. You see, very cutthroat individuals. These lawyers that I've worked with, whether they've been officers of the forum or just attendees, have just been truly amazing and wanting to give back. And I just look forward to seeing what they're going to do in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dawn. I want to hold on to this concept of advocacy, or this collegial environment. I feel breeds great advocates, from thought bubble or client need to fruition, that you mentioned. Advocacy is very important to the work that we do. In some industries, you can be more creative than others, but I'd like to touch on that for a second. Jill, given that advocacy is so vital to housing and community development policy, how do you integrate advocacy into your daily work?
Well, if I'm being honest, what I have done is work with some others in the industry, and I have collaborated with them. They're lawyers and aren't in my firm, but I've collaborated with them on letters to the IRS to try to get the IRS to issue guidance in a way that is, would help increase affordable housing stock, and things of that nature. And so again, to Dawn's point of collaboration, I've worked with lawyers from several other firms on projects like that. And some of those lawyers then actually went before the IRS and presented those arguments. And that did end up moving the needle on some guidance that was ultimately issued on a very important issue called income averaging, which is an area of the Section 42 code that has helped increase affordable housing and increase workforce housing. So that would be 80% and 70% AMI income tenants. And before that just, didn't exist. So, and the way the IRS had crafted that guidance was hard to implement. And so I'm just, very impressed with my industry colleagues. They just do a tremendous job of, getting in front of the IRS, keeping in touch with them, keeping in touch with the Department of Treasury. Some of them have very, very good relationships and have maintained those over the years, and that's certainly helped us on the advocacy piece.
For sure, for sure. Courtney, from the perspective of a law student, I guess I'm just kind of curious to know about your journey in public or policy advocacy. Yeah, could you share just a little bit about your experience and how you've grown there?
Yes, I was entered into public policy advocacy when I was working in Memphis. I worked for essentially a trade association for community development corporations. And from there, I got to just hear their stories, learn from them. I didn't even know about, what affordable housing was. And what I think I noticed from the onset was this was a concept that was so easily affected by so easily understood by other individuals in terms of how much this is relates to your daily work, but in your daily life, but how misunderstood it is in terms of how much rules, regulations. It to me came, just seemed very esoteric when I was talking about simple things like housing, right? And so I think from there, being someone who wasn't really involved in the space, I was able to translate those complicated issues back to the community. And so I knew I wanted to be able to share with them, how can we best advocate for you so that you can get, the type of housing that you want, the type of, grocery stores that you want, the type of community that you want to live in. And I saw it more as not just about housing, but also broadly more about a sustainable, thriving community. And, from there, I realized that there was so much that was affected by laws, regulations, especially on the local level. And that just kind of inspired me to continue to do that type of work. Most recently, I was working at an organization, Hope Policy Institute, where I essentially was advocating for CDFI, advocating for our credit union members, as well as some of the community development initiatives that we were working on as a CDFI loan fund. And so it was a natural progression of just trying to understand more about the laws and how I could best translate them to community members so that we can essentially build the type of communities that they want to see.
Thank you, Courtney. Definitely advocacy should be grounded. Definitely everything you said. I'd like to shift a little bit towards current challenges in affordable housing and community development. Jill, what do you see as the most significant barriers to affordable housing today, either legally or practically?
Well, I think there's a few things. One is, and this has been a, persistent issue, I think, for some time, is that there will be, what's called NIMBYism, not in my backyard. There will be, perhaps a local contingency that will want things to stay the way they are. They don't want an affordable housing community, in their neighborhood, so they will go and protest to, the local zoning board or, the local jurisdiction, and try and get that type of housing not, barred from that neighborhood. So, and, the political whims of, government, there may be some, people in office who don't want to ruffle the feathers of their constituents. So that's one thing. I do think that the good news is that I think that affordable housing really is a bipartisan initiative. We have many supporters in Congress who are, on both sides of the aisle. But I think, we all know that in this day and age, it's hard to get laws passed through Congress, even if there are you know, folks on both sides of the aisle who want to see those laws being passed. The affordable housing laws, or, you know, tax code laws typically get folded in with other types, you know, with other big omnibus bills. And so if there's something in that omnibus, I can't talk, bill that is controversial, that whole law won't get passed, even if there's support for the affordable housing provisions in that bill. So I can share that next year, most of the tax code that Trump passed provisions will expire, sunset next year. So we should see a lot of activity in that area next year, which is exciting for us. And we hope that, you know, goes the right way for affordable housing. So, you know, those are barriers. I would say, you know, the demand is exceeding the supply, you know, even if we're desperately trying to keep up with the supply of affordable housing, but you know, the demand is so great that, you know, sometimes it feels like, you know, throwing a rock in the ocean, you know, but we continue to try and find ways to, you know, come up with solutions and laws to increase the housing stock.
Sorry, my mic was off. And then would you mind shedding some light on some legal strategies? I don't know if it's a specific strategy you might have or a story, a strategy nonetheless employed by private sector to navigate some of these complex affordable housing transactions.
Sure. So they can be very complex, and I think that the way these transactions get done is that, as you know, even though inflation is cooling off, interest rates have really skyrocketed the last couple of years. Construction costs have skyrocketed. Again, you know, we hope we're starting to see a cooling off on both of those fronts, but I think that you know, when parties come together, both in the public and private sector, to come up with solutions to make these deals work, you know, maybe it's a creative debt solution, maybe you know, it's fundraising, or maybe there's grant funds that can, you know, be loaned into a deal by a nonprofit. Maybe it's bringing a nonprofit into a deal to help, you know, fundraise and get money that way. But anything that we can do to come up with creative solutions to fill the financing gaps, which has really been the biggest challenge, I would say, the last couple of years, among other things. That I think is how, you know, we really need to, it takes a village, I think, to put one of these deals together. And everybody needs to come to the table and be, you know, motivated to come up with solutions.
Definitely drawing on that notion of public-private partnerships, Joe. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Ms. Dawn, if you don't mind, what opportunities for the future do you see from the perspective of policy?
Well, I don't have a legal policy, but I do have some information I'd like to share.
Mm.
I think information gathering, that's the key thing. I think that's coming. It's not a policy, but I think that those individuals that are in this space need to take more time, such as things like this. And one of the other programs that the Forum on Affordable Housing currently has available on our LinkedIn is the ABCs of Housing.
Mm.
And I think that is so important that the public knows that affordable housing is not Section 8 housing, that affordable housing is not it's not public housing, it's not indigent housing, it's affordable housing for the individual that can afford a house, that he or she or them or they can have the ability to apply for a house and be valued along with everyone else based on the qualifications that they present, so that you're not priced out of the market. And I remember as a child, my parents saving for years to try and buy a home for us, and we were apartment dwellers. And they were trying for years and saved for years. You know, we wondered many years why our Christmas presents were so simple, you know, things that we wanted toys and we got other things because they were saving for a house. And when they got the monies together to save for a house, they wanted to be able to qualify. And that's the thing that impacts so many people, that they have to save and borrow and get money from other sources in order to be to be competitive in the market, in order to qualify for a house. And this practice area and this group of lawyers that work in this space, if you're a lawyer or a doctor, or if you're I don't know, if you're a hedge fund manager, you have certain access to assets and monies that a lot of people, a teacher, a fireman, a conference director, somebody that works at the local, is a manager of a fast food restaurant, they cannot necessarily qualify as quickly or meet the standards of a person who has other assets, but they have everything else in disposable, and they have all these other things. So that's what there's a misconception that affordable housing is public housing, and that it's Section 8 housing, and it's not. Affordable, our forum covers all of those subsets. Section 8 housing and public housing and homelessness, but affordable housing has such a wide band of individuals that practice in this space, that it covers a multitude of areas, that is not just for the indigent or the wealthy. It covers everyone from top to bottom, from A to Z.
Thank you, Dawn. Courtney, what's your vision for the future, particularly how younger generations are shaping the discourse around affordable housing and public policy?
I love that conversation, because I think, just to echo what Dawn mentioned, affordable housing is an issue that is everybody's issue. It's something everybody can get behind. It's something that's important to everyone, because everyone has a fundamental right to, have an accessible, safe home that they can afford and live and grow in. And so for me, I am really excited for the future generation and my generation, because we're redefining, I think, what affordable housing means. As a millennial, we are also just really interested in different types of housing, right? We're not, having kids as much, we're not getting married. We're thinking about different ways that we can create community. So I've, been very interested in reading about, community land trust, for example, or just different types of, inclusionary zoning that would open up different types of housing options for individuals who maybe don't necessarily want single family homes, or even now as things become more expensive, can't afford these types of homes. And so I think just making sure that we're in a space where young people are speaking out, sharing their stories, and we're redefining that narrative of what it means to be, have an affordable home, and not just about shelter, about truly making a community as well.
Thank you so much for that, Courtney. And then Jill, I'm curious, how has the legal landscape in affordable housing evolved since you started practicing?
Right. Well, I can share that the deals, at least it feels to me, like they have gotten more complex. There's more layers of debt. I think somebody called it once the lasagna of debt in these deals, because there's just so many layers. And, again, I think the reason for that is to what I alluded to earlier, which is just with costs going up, we're seeing, and interest rates going up, we're seeing more sources needing to be brought to bear on these deals. We're also seeing, because certain types of allocated credits are finite, and we haven't been able yet to get Congress to pass a bill to increase the amount of credits that are allocated to states. We hope that comes around in the next round. There are more bond deals, tax exempt bond deals that we're seeing now than we used to. I would say the one thing that that hasn't changed is that the legal industry in affordable housing is very tight. I think it was very tight when I started practicing in this area 22 years ago, and it still is that way. As Dawn said earlier, it's a very collaborative industry. It's not competitive where, I mean, of course, we all want to advocate zealously for our clients, but we'll call each other, you know, the lawyers will call each other up and we'll help one another work out solutions on a deal that we're working on. We're all working towards the same goal. So that has not changed. And, you know, I think, like I said, I think the deals are just getting more complex. It feels like the volume has increased dramatically. When I started in this industry, we didn't, I hadn't, you know, the industry hadn't been around long enough for deals to be coming off their compliance periods. Their years 1 to 15 is the amount of time that investors have to hold the asset, and then they can exit after year 15. And so in the last 10 years or so, we're seeing a lot of activity and disputes around valuation of deals upon investor exit, which that simply didn't exist when I started because deals just, the industry was too new for deals to be coming off that 15-year compliance period. So, so those are some areas in which it's changed. And then, like I said, some aspects in which it's stayed the same.
Certainly. Thank you, Jill. So we've talked a lot about public policy, collaboration and advocacy in this space, the current challenges of affordable housing in the future. I'd like to take a step back and kind of ground things. I feel like the advocacy and work necessary to affect positive change in this industry can be taxing. So I'm curious to know from each of you, how do you all manage the demands of your careers and aspirations while maintaining a fruitful work-life balance, if possible? Anyone can start.
Dawn, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I'm gonna start because I have a class, and this is how I maintain. I do two things that are very integral besides my family. My church, my faith is very important to me. And I am a woman of faith, and I believe that, you know, I quote scriptures to myself sometimes just to get me throughout the day. When something starts really going wrong, I just know that it's, as the song says, it's only a test. And I go to the gym and I work it out. I sweat it out. I get it out. And then sometimes I have to talk it out. I'll call Jill, I'll call Kelly, I'll call a past chair. And I'll just say, look, I need some advice as to how to handle a situation with this group and another group I work with. And I really believe just, you know, not holding stuff in, just, you know, being transparent. I believe in treating people like I want to be treated. I live by that rule, and I want to do what is needed of me, but I'm not going to compromise my values or opinions. And again, I believe that if I do right, right will follow me. So I do unto others all the time, and I do it to the best of my ability. I'm not above saying I was wrong or I'm sorry or I made a mistake. I try and use and interject humor when situations get a little bit heavy, but sometimes that can be misconstrued. And I take that with a grain of salt because my only intention is to make people smile and, you know, bring people together. And I like to help people. And in this space, this affordable housing space, there's a lot of helpers and there's a lot of doers, and they believe that they're in everything that they do, it's helping and being there to help somebody else get up or be up in their life in housing. You know, just getting a house and getting the keys to the door, it's an amazing feeling. And I do have to, I'm sorry, but I do have to go.
I understand. Thank you for that tall glass of mindfulness, Dawn, and for your time. Can't wait
Thank you so much. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Dawn. Enjoy the
Thank you.
class.
Thank you.
Would either of you, Courtney or Jill, like to go next?
Courtney, I'll let you start and then I'll chime in.
Yeah. So as mentioned, I'm a first year law student, and it has definitely gotten busier my life in the last few weeks. And so I think for me, what has really been an outlet is running. I love running. It's just honestly my first love. And I ran throughout high school, and it's just something that's continued with me as I've progressed. And I think just getting out there, taking a break, going for a run really just puts me in a completely different mindset. I've actually enlisted some other runners from our law school, and we run. And so last week we ran across the Benjamin Franklin Bridge across to Philly, and it's just been a really good experience, just building relationships with people, getting to know people, and then also just getting a chance to just de-stress and not think so much about, um, the demands of school.
Yep. This is a great question. And I think, well-being is so important for everyone in our firm, and I think the industry really emphasizes well-being and making sure that we're all, taking care of ourselves so we can do our jobs well. But I really enjoy working. And so, sometimes it's hard for me to turn it off. Fortunately, I have a husband who's very, very social. And so we go out a lot with our friends, and I spend time with friends. And I can tell you that I don't think any of them really know or understand. I mean, and I don't mean that they wouldn't understand what I do if I talk to them about it, but we just don't really talk about it, So we just have fun and laugh. And so, I've, like I said, friends who, I'm really able to just unplug and disengage and laugh and be away from work. And then of course, family, like I said, my husband is makes me laugh, very funny. My kids are, I'm an empty nester, but still in touch with, my kids frequently. And one of my kiddos is really into movies. He's very into independent movies. So he's introduced me to a lot of great movies that I've watched. And so that's another way that I unplug, as well as exercise. Like you said, I'm not a runner, but I like Pilates and, yoga and that type of thing. And those are also really good de-stressing exercises. And but again, I think it's really just laughing and not taking things too seriously, like Dawn said. And, we laugh a lot here at work. We don't take ourselves too seriously. We're not striving to be, the smartest person in the room. We just want to help our clients do their jobs. And we laugh a lot, with our clients. I mean, as Dawn said earlier, when she made the comment about, just remember it's not brain surgery. What we do, we take our work very seriously, but we also remember that, we're doing something good. And, and there's, no need to sort of be contentious about it or, I mean, we can still laugh and we can still have fun. And, every day, there's always some kind of absurdity out there, right? That, you can kind of laugh at. So, I think that's really how, I maintained, balance around, the work that we're doing. But it really is, I love what I do. And so, that helps. And that would be my advice to anybody, going into this field or whatever field you go into. If you love it, it doesn't feel like work. I know that's a cliche, but it is true.
Absolutely, Jill. I want to echo that. A laugh can go a long way, especially with the rigors of the law, what have you. It's just so important. And I wanted to note for our listeners to check in with yourself, check in with your loved ones, and just try your best to find joy in the moment. I myself, I definitely pray. I like to work out and I love music. Music always soothes my spirit. I'm a bit anxious at times, and it's just nice to have that check-in with myself. It's something I didn't do a ton of in high school and college, and law school definitely turned me on to the importance of balance, like you said, Jill, and a healthy work-life balance, or just self-care. I want to come back to you, Jill, in this segment of reflections. What advice would you give to current law school students like myself and Courtney looking to pursue a career in affordable housing and community development?
Well, I think you're doing exactly what you should be doing. you know, like I said, didn't even know this area existed until I had been practicing law for, you know, 8 years. And it was at this firm that it was being done and I didn't even know it. So, you know, you're getting exposed to it. That's fantastic. You're getting involved in, you know, the forum and talking to people like Stephanie Johnson, who, you know, can help, inform you and, you know, talking to people who are in this area and making connections and, you know, going to the conferences and learning more about it. So I think you're doing exactly what you should be doing. And, you know, if it's something you love, I say, you know, by all means, pursue it and make as many connections as you can and, learn as much about it as you can. And to the extent there's any, if you feel very strongly that this is what you want to do, to the extent there are any courses in law school that you can take that pertain to it. Partnership tax is something that applies very heavily in this area. There are other courses too, you know, that pertain to this area. So, you know, I don't know necessarily these days what law schools are offering in this area, but, you know, I suspect there are clinics out there that may touch this space. And what I will say too, though, is if you don't take courses in law school in this area, it doesn't mean you can't do it, because we really do learn here on the job. I didn't, again, take any classes that pertain to what I'm doing day to day now. And you really do learn on the job and just find mentors, as you talked about earlier, and pepper them with questions. You can't ask too many questions.
Thank you so much, Jill, especially touching on that notion of the transition between theory and practice. I feel it's not talked about enough. So with that, Courtney, if you'd like to oblige Jill with any questions, I just wanted to open up the floor to you. Also, if you had any advice to share to undergrad students or prospective law students that, you know, are working to be in the position you're in now, any advice to them?
So I think I'll start with the advice. What I would say is you really should just like Nike, just do it. I think a lot of times we can psych ourselves out and think that we are not ready or we're not good enough or there's more to learn. There's always more to learn. There's always more to do. But it's always a great, you know, opportunity to bet on yourself and go after the things that you're passionate for. And so one thing I've been learning in law school is that you don't have to have all the answers. And, you know, as Jill mentioned, you will learn things, you know, in law school, and then I'll learn more things on the job. And so just being open to ambiguity and not knowing and, you know, being willing to learn and put yourself out there, I think is so important. Even if you don't think you're ready, take the leap and it will be okay. That would be the advice that I would give to undergrads and just people who are aspiring to go to law school. I think for Jill, my question is for you. What do you find to be the most satisfying part of your role? You know, is there any particular deal that you remember being, you know, having just a good level of satisfaction or something that really brought you joy about your job?
Sure. For me, it really and truly is helping our clients do their job. It makes me feel very good when clients say, in fact, somebody just yesterday said, you know, I kind of feel like when I reach out to you, it's like I have an AI, you know, on my an AI lawyer on my side, because you're so fast and quick and to the point. You know, it makes me happy when I feel like, you know, clients feel like I've helped them. And I'm sure that's true in any area that you're in, right? I mean, you're always helping somebody do their job or helping somebody advance their cause. So I love that part of the job. And just the other part I love is coming up with solutions. You know, in law school, you learn how to spot issues, and we spot issues as well. But then we, when we're on the job, we take that next step into coming up with a solution for the client. And some of these tax problems can be complex, and you solve one problem and then you open up another problem. And so it's just trying to kind of fit that puzzle together. I really like that challenge of just, again, coming up with solutions, but it all comes back to helping the clients do their jobs. And then helping them do their jobs means that we have a product at the end of the deal that's helping other people, right? That are helping those who need affordable housing have access to affordable housing. Again, I think, as going back to the earlier point, one of the biggest challenges is we can't build enough. There's just such a need for affordable housing. And, every time we close a deal, I'm so happy that there's more affordable housing on the, out there for people to access. So, all of those aspects of the job, as well as, quite honestly, we work in teams here, and I love the people I work with too. So, there's that too, which, people are half, you know what I mean, the battle on your job. So, for all those reasons, I really just love what I do.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's just really great to hear lawyers who love their job and and love the work that they do. And just even the collaborative nature that you mentioned is, I think, really interesting, because that's something that draws me as well, being able to collaborate and work with others and solve problems.
Yep. Yep. Uh-oh, did we lose Davian?
I think we did. Oh, he's back.
There he is.
I'm back. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, did the storm come through?
Yes, Francine has made landfall. I apologize. I definitely was following Jill up until like my video cut out. I'm so sorry.
No worries. My internet's been spotty as well.
I do want to be respectful of you guys' time, and then also this storm. I definitely don't want it to cut off on me. Does anybody have anything else that they wanted to add to the conversation, though? Definitely want to provide space for that.
Well, DJ, I just wanted to say thank you so much for organizing this podcast, for putting the questions together, for your interest in doing this, and for highlighting this area of the law. I can't thank you enough.
No, thank you.
Courtney,
Absolutely.
thank you for joining.
Yes, thank you so much. It's an honor, honestly, to be alongside you, Jill, and Dawn, and just people who are doing this work in the space. Definitely just a great opportunity to meet people and network and learn more about what I want to do. So thank you, DJ, for putting this together.
Absolutely. And I definitely agree with what you said earlier, Courtney. I had no idea that this line of work was a thing. I think Stephanie, Dawn, and Kelly for coming to Tulane last year. It was about a year ago today, and introducing me to this space. I wouldn't be in this position without that opportunity created by this forum. But without further ado, I'd like to thank all of you for your participation, your willingness, and your insight in this conversation. I hope to see you both at the boot camp. Courtney, I know 1L schedule's tough, but we still hope to see you in the future at a future event.
I hope it works out.
Absolutely.
If not there, then the May meeting
Yeah,
in DC.
we'll be in touch, Courtney. We're locked in, so we'll be in touch.
Great.
Gotcha.
Thanks so much to both of you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.